Hello, everyone, and welcome to another bonus episode of the Sempre Milan podcast on Substack. We are in the middle of April, and we still haven't got a sporting director yet. We are going to go through what happened with the Paratici talks, the candidates that are still remaining, and the issues that they've got to face, and why the club is running out of time. Happy Friday. Christ will
Friday.
soon rise
Yeah. Yep.
on Sunday, I believe. Is that how it worked? Supposedly?
Yeah, I mean that's the
Some-
the
That's the
Christian
story.
mythology. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we play on Sunday against the goddess to keep it all in that kind of theming.
We're cooked
We're
because
cooked, yeah.
the original Easter
Divine
was
intervention.
a pagan holiday for the goddess of like fertility or some shit. So we're extra cooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's over. Pack your
It
bags,
is.
boys. We're going
I
home.
mean, look, even without all that stuff, they could probably beat us just because they're a better team. But
There's
at
that
least
too.
we've
Yeah.
got mythology to point at and be
And
like,
we're the devil. Yeah, we're losing
yeah.
double.
Oh
Oh my
shit!
god.
Goodness me.
Oof.
We're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Wrap
Also,
it up.
the like I said, Adela Sport this morning called Reinders a devil, saying he's the true devil. So he's having a shit game as well. They're just throwing hoodoo around like Lukaku's mum
Would they
did.
say that?
Oh,
That's weird.
they were saying it in the context of like he's now the leader of the team.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
of course, there were absolutely no Pulisic fans in the replies to the article that we put on the website about him being the leader of the team. There were none. A very, very understanding bunch. Anyway, as mentioned, we still don't have a sporting director yet.
yeah. Yeah.
We're on April 18th. We did a bonus a few weeks ago about how it looked like it was going to be Fabio Paratici, and then everything fell apart. Naturally, we tend to put a curse on these things. And now the process has kind of reopened. And I won't say started from scratch because there will have been a list of names that Paratici was at the top of, and now they're sort of working through them. But before we move on to those names, we might as well wrap up the stuff on Fabio Paratici. What version of events do you buy into most as to why it hasn't happened? Do you think that they never agreed anything because they fundamentally disagreed on certain aspects of the project? Do you think it was an economic thing? Do you think there really was pressure from those in charge at the league to be like, don't hire this guy? Do you think we really did just get cold feet over the whole Prisma trial thing that's come in? Is it a combination of these things? Because it seems very strange to me that we'd evaluated everything on the table, all of his circumstances and his previous work. We got quite far into the process and then just U-turned.
Yeah, I think it comes down to one simple thing, and it's not really any of those. I mean, I guess it's technically falls into one category, but it's that infamous break clause that we wanted to give sorry, that we gave Conceição. I think it was the knowledge that the Prisma trial is different than the ban that he currently is serving, and this is a criminal charge. And
Yeah.
if he's found guilty, then he could be banned for life. And if we give him a long-term contract, we have to honor that. We don't just fire him. So we put the break clause regarding that. And from Paratici's side, he says, no, I don't want that because he knows that this could be his final opportunity to make money. And you want to stretch that as long as you can. So he's saying,
Yeah.
I'm not taking a break clause. And I think that's where the breakdown comes. And it's understandable. I do think he'd be a fine director. We know what he's capable of. We've seen it. We've seen some bad things from him too. So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, you got to weigh it up, and they did. They felt like he was worth it, but they don't want to take the risk of hiring someone who is immediately then ineligible, and that makes sense, which is why they put the break clause in. And if he's not agreeing to that, then you move on. And
Mhm.
I really think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's always a convoluted conspiracy. I don't, there could have been little hints of the other things in there too, but I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to risk versus reward. And if the risk is too great to hire him full time without that break clause, then they're not going to take it because Milan is at a point now where they have made the wrong decision on a lot of things consecutively, and it's pissing off a lot of people. And you don't have the luxury of making another mistake at this point. So
Mm.
you got to get a sporting director in, and it has to be the right one. And someone who is going to become ineligible a week or two after signing that contract is what's called the wrong decision. So
Mm.
you move on.
Yeah, fully agree with all of that. Literally nothing else to add, but I will throw another question your way. Was he, in your mind, the right guy? And are you a bit disappointed, therefore, that it hasn't come to fruition?
Yeah, I think a bit, definitely. If you get rid of the Prisma, you get rid of the scandal, the suspension, all that garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would be a fantastic sporting director for us. I think it was looking like he was going to build something with us, getting interested in pulling Conte. We know what that combination could bring in terms of players and sporting success. So yeah, I was actually on board. I wanted it. A part of me still says maybe they go back, but look, to me, it seems almost as if the chances of conviction in the Prisma scandal went up. If maybe they got word like, "Look, we're going to convict this guy. You shouldn't hire him."
Yeah.
Well,
Might it be that
writing's on the wall.
pressure from above is not necessarily always a bad thing because it can be
Yeah,
informative a
could
bit
be
as well.
helping.
Like
Yeah.
it could be Marotta saying, because Marotta got asked about it, didn't he? He said, have you had any influence in this? And he was like, how could I? They're their own club. They make their own decisions. If anything, I'd welcome Paratici at Milan because it would drive me to do better. I'd be pissed off, basically, is what he said. But in a motivational way.
Mhm.
But like, maybe he's had a word and been like, oh, this guy's going to get fucked, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, don't hire him. It could be genuinely useful information.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just not sure because Gabriele Gravina, the head of the FIGC, Italian Football Federation, he also got asked about it because there was some speculation that he that he had a hand in it and he denied it. Of course, they're all going to come out and deny it, but I think it might be a case of there's no smoke without fire. But I also think that it's probably a combination of all the different aspects that would make you doubt about Paratici being the right guy. You don't. It's not doubts about his CV necessarily, and I think that out of all the candidates that we've been linked with, he's the one who actually has the experience of operating in a winning club, something that
Mhm.
could be very useful to us at the moment. Um, so it's not necessarily doubts about the CV, but doubts about his operability, what he's actually able to do before July 20th. I think it came out that he could be an advisor type figure. And like you think, okay, that's fine. He's basically going to be a director. He just has a different title until his band's up. But actually, it turns out he can't speak to other clubs. He can't speak to
Mhm.
agents. So there's no point. Like we're in a massive, like a critical stage of planning for the near and the
Yeah.
distant future. So to have a guy who can't even do some elements of that would be, if that's actually true, would be counterproductive, I think. So anyway, it's not going to be him. We move on then. The two candidates that stand out at the moment, apparently going head to head, and we actually play the team that one of them represents on Sunday, so that could be a chance for everyone to chat. Igli, Tare and Tony D'Amico. They've been in the running for this entire time, pretty much. We'll start with Tare. What are your initial thoughts on that? Obviously, he spent what was it, like 18 years at
Something like
Lazio?
that. Yeah.
His last 3 years of his playing career, and then 15 years as a sporting director. They won 6 trophies in that time, which for a club like Lazio, with respect, actually no, with disrespect, is pretty good. They won 3 Coppa Italias and 3 Super Coppas, so they weren't exactly Scudetti, but they sort of got themselves from being a mid-table club to being a consistent challenger and
Mhm.
sometimes breaking into the top 4. They've had some good coaches go through there and a lot of very good players, which I think speaks to some of his strengths. How are you feeling about the Albanian?
Yeah, I think on paper, it makes sense. The worrying bit for me, when you take a guy who has spent his entire time from a club that, let's face it, is on the bottom of the top. As far as the big six, they're probably number six. So what they do is more revolved around those kind of smaller deals, trying to find the diamonds in the rough. And he's good at it. Don't get me wrong, but then he's also good at selling them on later. And moving them on, and the pressure to win a Scudetto isn't there. The pressure to qualify for the Champions League every season isn't there. So when you take a guy like that and you put him in a place where now the pressure is to find ready-made players, win a Scudetto, and never miss out on the Champions League, it becomes a lot more difficult. You're not given the freedom to make some of these signings, right? Like